Welcome, I'm Faye Waterman and this is Talking All Things Business Facebook Live. And my guest today is Peter Hursey. And Peter is known as the property wellness doctor. Now we can put a little question mark next to that because what do we understand about what Peter does? And I'm going to hand it over to Peter to explain exactly what he actually does. Welcome, Peter, and thank you for your time today. And please share with the listeners what you're actually doing, what you actually do.
Morning, Faye. Pleased to be invited, so thank you very much. I'm actually a Dowser geomancer and an energetic emotional coach. So a bit of my background, just so you know me a little bit. I've had 35 years in the power industry as a paraprofessional engineer, and I got chronic fatigue about halfway through that, and didn't start to get well till I discovered about health stressors and started fixing my own problems and my own houses, and then started to get well from there. Discovered geomancy and emotional coaching.
So what is geomancy? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, it's probably just go into the health stresses for a moment. Is that okay, Faye?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what are the health stresses that you actually work with when you're working with somebody?
Yeah, okay, so I look at two sorts of health stresses that are external influences on you. Well, sometimes they're internal influences on us as well. So often what's coming at us is what's coming out from inside us. But I look at two main health stresses. One is emotional and the other one is environmental. So
what is it? What's the emotional stresses? What do you mean when you say emotional stresses?
So when I think emotional stresses, I think of two areas mainly. One of them is the baggage that we carry from all the relationships we've had and our journey through this life and possibly the others. It's all stuff that we're carrying. It's an emotional load, and a lot of those emotions and memories, etc., are suppressed, but they're weighing us down in what we're trying to achieve every day.
So
the other one is...
we don't actually know, we don't realise, we're not really aware of a lot of the baggage that we're actually carrying around with us, do we? We just know that when something goes wrong, that we don't deal with it in the appropriate manner. Is that how I'm looking at it? I'm just going to throw these questions at you.
So sometimes I think, Faye, we're sort of teetering on the edge. It doesn't take much of an emotional outburst from someone else to sometimes, or something happening in our lives to tip us over the edge. So it sort of means that we're only just ticking over, and it's only at the surface that's actually dealing with everything. So someone pushes your button, and sometimes it'll flip us into having a mental health episode, etc., or just going into a bit of a breakdown, so to speak.
And you talk about relationships, but it's not just the relationship that we have with ourselves, but it's the relationship that we have with the people around us as well, isn't it? That can affect how we're feeling, our emotional baggage that we carry around.
Yeah, that's correct, Faye, and it's not just necessarily the stuff that we remember. A lot of the stuff that's happened in our childhood we seem to suppress. All sorts of things that we've seen or heard or encountered during our childhoods or even coming into adulthood, and they affect the way we see the world, and we end up with all these paradigms about the way we see the world and the filter we see the world because of those things that have happened to us.
And is that when, we look at people accept their life and say, oh, this is my lot, so I'll just accept it and go along with it, because there's no awareness that they have the choices to change things once they understand what that paradigm or that habit is that's preventing them from moving forward. But I just want to delve into that a little bit deeper. How is it that you work with somebody, and we've worked together on many occasions, to rid of all those the ghosts and bits and pieces that hang around you that we're not aware of. And people might think this is a little bit woo-woo, but when they understand what you actually do, then they can look at where they're sitting and have an understanding of, you know, one day they might get up and feel really good first thing in the morning, and then later in the day they feel like crap and they don't know why. So what is it that you do to come in and see, have a conversation with them and see what's going on?
Yeah, okay, so there's two things there. One is an awareness that we have these paradigms. So these are just the way we live our lives, and we're not aware that these things and these filters keep popping in and driving the way that we look at people and our own self-worth and what we can do each day. So that's sort of coming from within, after a lot of external stuff sort of driving it in, I suppose. The second side that I deal with is the actual environmental stresses, and that's what you're talking about there. So what some people call woo-woo, I call my everyday, basically. So just imagine you go and see a medical professional of some sort. They'll actually see you standing in front of them in their surgery or their place of works. So they can only see what's presented to them from your symptoms. When I look at a person, I actually look at that person, but from within their environment, what in their environment is actually influencing them or lowering their immune system or affecting their mental health from just being surrounded by them. So,
and that's
so mainly. Sorry, Faye.
No, you go. So it's mainly.
So really it's the places that you spend a lot of time in that affect your health every day. So mainly where you sleep, in your home, because you spend about a third of your life sleeping, if you're sleeping properly in a non-stressed house. And the other place is usually your place of work. And, current world environment, we're spending a lot more time at home, and we're often got home offices, etc., because we can't get out and about from whatever's impacting us from the external world. So having your home stresses impacting you for probably 2/3 of your life rather than 1/3 that it was before. So understanding that these stresses are impacting your health on a day-to-day basis, they're basically lowering your immune system and your ability to be resilient, both emotionally and with your wellness.
Okay, so you're saying these external stresses that are in your home that we're not aware of, what sort of things can they be? I mean, you said you sleep in your bed, we're supposed to sleep 8 hours a day, and our body's supposed to rest, but sometimes we sleep but we don't get the quality of sleep that we need. So what could be affecting that sleep?
Yeah, so there's spaces that a lot of people don't really understand, and I only uncovered these things on my own health journey. So earth stresses are a major one. So just imagine you've got a glass prism on the table in front of you, and someone shines a white light in one side and you get a rainbow coming out the other side. Now, if the Earth's actually got a little light globe in the middle of it and sends out white light through the Earth, but as it goes through the different thicknesses of the Earth, it changes its colour, just like the prism. So some of those frequencies, when they get to the surface, because of what they've gone through, will actually come at a frequency that actually stresses our body. So think here about some nice soothing music, or someone running their hand down a chalkboard. So when we're in that particular frequency, it's upsetting our body and our normal immune function and bodily functions, etc. So earth stresses are one major one, and they come from things like little micro faults in the earth and underground streams that are energetically sick, ley lines, and also we've got there's earthly side of it, but there's also the man-made or the man-influenced side of it, and that comes in the form of electromagnetic stress, etc. Sorry, Faye.
Okay, let's talk about the landlines, because you said something about landlines. What do you mean about landlines?
So there's the geopathic stress, which comes from underground streams and from microfaults, etc. But we also have ley lines, which are an above ground energy line. They tend to as far as the eye can see, generally travel in straight lines. But where you get two lines actually cross physically, then it creates what's called a vortex. That's the energy spins either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Now, if it spins anti-clockwise and down into the earth, it creates a really concentrated negativity space. So that influences you by, or say if you're sleeping on it, you could get nasty dreams. Some people even get suicidal when they're on them. It brings the whole energy of the house down. If you've got one in the front of your business, you can see people will actually walk past your business. They won't see your business, or you'll attract the bogan element probably coming in, probably not quite the demographics that you wanted coming into your business. They also can stagnate the energy flow. So when you clear some of these things up, things in your life that have been stagnant will move on. So it's not just your health, it's the flow of the energy around your life. So maybe a relationship that was stagnant might break up and then a fresh one will come in, or you might chuck your job in and get another job. Things that have been there for a long time that have really been holding you back, and that energy flow lets life move on. You discover more things, and your brain actually changes its operating frequencies. So normally in a stressed house, our brain gets stuck in what's called beta brain waves, and that's sort of everyday stuff like paying your bills, and your mind's running around and racing all the time. But when you get rid of the stress from your house, you can get down into the alphas and deltas, etc., and you can plan your life, and you actually move forward, and you're making decisions that affect things long term, and actually starting to live your life rather than just being in existence.
So when you remove these stressors, whether they're ley lines or underground, whatever's, I don't understand this, so I'm not going to say I do, but when you get rid of those stressors for somebody within their home or outside in their gardens, and when you go to someone's house, you don't even have to go to someone's house, do you? You can do it virtually. Do you look at, if someone's, let's use the example of a home, and someone is not feeling well, or there's something going on but they don't really understand what it is, and you come along and you do an environmental assessment on their home and the land around it, what is it that you look for, and what is it that you can actually see? And I'm sure you have some examples of homes that you've done and what you've seen. So talk about that, Pete.
Yeah, okay. There's one other level that I missed there a second ago, and that was in the space of things that have happened on the land, so the history on the land. Say someone's been murdered in a house, or someone's died in a house, that leaves an energy imprint on the house and the land, etc., and that can actually be a stress that's affecting you as well. So there's lots of stuff I'm talking about that you can't see, and science hasn't caught up with. But with the techniques and things that I use, and people who have been doing what I do for thousands of years, other than the electromagnetic stuff, which is only sort of the last 100 years, for a long time, and making differences in people's lives. Now, I often do a remote survey, so I'll get a Google Maps of your property, and I'll ask a number of questions about the different sorts of stresses that I know and I understand. And then I'll use my dowsing rods, because I actually use water divining rods basically, and I run them over the page, and I draw all the lines and things on, and work out what's going on, and then I contact the person who's asked me to do the survey, and we have a bit of a chat through what we find and how what I find would be impacting their health. Often they don't tell me up front, and then we have a chat about how we might manage that going forwards, and how we can help that family or that business from A to B and try and keep them stable.
Right, okay. And I would say there'd be a lot of people out there saying right now, what's he talking about? This is all woo-woo and all the rest of it. But I can actually say and seen results that what work you do, it actually works for people. And the results that you get for people is more positive than any negatives. But where do you sit in the health profession as far as what you do, and how are you accepted with let's say the normal health profession? How do they look at you? And then the alternate, and I know they call themselves other things as well, but how do they see you within the support system for you to help them with their patients or their clients or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pleased you said that, Faye, because that is actually my mission. My mission in life is to actually get knowledge of what I do out there and train more people like myself to go out and help more people. You need someone like me in every state or whatever to be able to help people. Mainstream medical professions, the way they're taught and the framework that they've got to work within, they're not very accepting of what I do. Get them away from their work environment and they'll actually talk about what I do and quite acceptable and understand. And a lot of people are actually open to the stuff, but they're not in an environment where they can actually influence much in that space. The alternative health professionals, I work quite closely with a few of them, and I've got one in particular here in Hobart, and she'll say, Pete, I'll fix them, I'll send them home, they're broken again, go and fix their houses for me. So, we've got that understanding, and that particular person, she actually has her house done by me regularly as well, and also do some of my emotional tricks on that side of things as well. So I try and do both things. I try and sort out the environment that you're actually in, plus the environment that's actually in here, or that we've got stressing us from both sides.
Because we don't realise what the stresses are. I mean, most of the time as an individual, we are concerning ourselves with what's going on in the outside environment instead of concerning ourselves with what's going on within us as an individual. And the outside environment, we allow to affect us internally. And that shows up on the outside of who we are by the way we respond or react, or whether we have an illness or whether we're, just doubting ourselves. There's all those sorts of things that can be affected. What is it that you are able to do to ease that and give someone peace of mind?
Yeah, okay. So in that space, if there's something acute and there's not much I can do with, unless it's a mental type issue, people having a breakdown or something like that, I can help in that space. Most of what I do helps people with longer term health issues, and a lot of them on the merry-go-round, they can't get the answers from the medical profession. Maybe they've had an operation, but then and medical treatment, and then they go back and they're on the same stresses that brought it on in the first place, or at least was a major contributor to what they're experiencing at the moment. So
nothing's been removed, even though they've had that intervention there, like an operation.
Because there's not the knowledge.
The emotional, the mindset hasn't actually been changed. Nothing's changed in the mindset. You have that physical operation. You go away and you do your healing and take your medication or do whatever it is. But if the mindset hasn't changed, then nothing changes, does it really?
No, and you might be still sleeping on those environmental stresses as well that sort of lowered your immune system and left you open to disease, long-term sort of diseases, etc. I had a case in Melbourne where I was in an alleyway and there was 3 cafes, and two of them, they all had the similar sort of lady out the front and bringing you in and similar sort of prices and whatnot. 2 were going really well, 1 was hardly moving at all, and I said to my wife, I reckon there's a negative vortex there. I got up with my dowsing rods and I checked it out, and yes there was. The guy that I knew in the cafe I was in asked me what I did, and we had that discussion, and he had a daughter that was long-term ill. Next day I was on a train in Melbourne and doing some work in their house and giving some people hope where they've had no hope before and no answers as to why is this happening to me, and I'm still in this loop. What's the lesson to learn, or what's in my environment that's actually bringing this stuff on all the time? And the thing is too, that you get comfortable with those stresses in your house. So if you pick another house, you're going to pick another house that feels comfortable to you, which has got the same stresses in it. So I often look at houses for people too and give them a rough idea what to expect in that house, and whether things have to be maintained or it's quite good to start with, etc. And at least they're making an informed decision about their purchase.
And what was the result or the changes that happened for that man and his family?
Yeah, they saw subtle changes in their business. A lot of what I do, some of these things manifest over years. So they often don't get results just overnight. But you see lots of little changes in your health, and things just starting to take a turn and start heading in the right direction. I did some work for a young family here in Hobart not long ago, and within a week all the kids had jobs, and some of the kids that were a bit estranged were actually coming back and giving their mum a hug, and all these stagnant energies and things change as well as their health. So that's just the stressor side of it. But I'm doing a lot of work with people energetically balancing their emotions. So I take everything I do back to universal laws. So if you talk about the law of attraction, you attract what you're thinking about all the time, okay? What's on your mind, and you're putting whatever your vibration is, you're bringing back in. So in my mind, going back to those basics, if you go to a healer about your emotional issues and they want to talk about those issues, what do you bring to the surface? You're putting yourself straight in that same vibration that you're actually in to start with. So in my mind, you're actually suppressing those memories and they're just being pushed back into that backpack that's full of bricks that's slowing you down anyway. So what I do, I don't even need to go in that space. I energetically find this stuff and work with the person, and it's very painless, and we can do it online, and I'm getting some amazing results with people, and it's actually, some of the stuff's actually measurable on things like the Hawkins scale of consciousness. It's amazing. And you've had a little bit of this work done on you, or with you as well, haven't you, Faye?
Absolutely, and I'll continue to do that too, because whenever I'm feeling a little bit blah, I always message you and say, I need help. Yeah. But that's all around awareness, isn't it? It's all around us as individuals being aware of who we are, what we want, what's going on in our life, and then wanting to change it and taking those steps. And one of those steps can be you coming in to help make those changes and making life better. But it's mindset too, isn't it? It's
definitely.
People don't change their mindset. If they don't change things, nothing changes. But if they're prepared, they're aware, and they're prepared to take the steps to make the changes, things will change. And there are, as you said, sometimes it doesn't happen instantly, but sometimes when you're doing your work, and I've asked you to do it, I can actually feel the changes. I don't even see you, but I know you're doing it. So, and you can feel the changes. And people might think that's a bit woo-woo, but it works.
Yeah, I've gotten the stage, Faye, where my whole life has been around working in regulated environments. Everything's black and white, everything's to the rules, but that's all about being controlled. So when I've discovered some of these things now, I can't understand them. We don't have the consciousness as a human being, I don't think, to actually understand the whole cosmos. And when we do, we're only explaining it in terms of things that we actually understand in the physical, or whatever's in our realms around us at the moment. So an awareness, they say when the student's ready, the teacher arrives. So when people are ready for me, they tend to find me anyway. They get a recommendation, or they'll come across me on a Facebook video or something like that with me talking about some coaching or some property type work, and a penny will drop and think, I actually need some help in that space, and then they put their hand up. And if I can find you on Google Maps anywhere in the world, then I can help you.
Yeah, and you don't have to be present personally. You can do it remotely, and that is a gift. It is a gift, and I think that the more you use it and the more people that you help, the better the environment and the world will become. And I mean, looking at
Definitely.
what we've just been through here in Melbourne, and lockdown finishes tonight. Yes, again. Even though it was for only a few days, it's like, So, and it's all about our mental attitude and accepting things and accepting change, and there never will be a normal that we used to know. It's a new normal, whatever that may be for each individual. And for what you do is help some of those people who have come out the other side of last year, 2020, and, you know, with mental health issues or environmental issues and things like that. You can support them through their journey and take them to a place of being
choice.
Well, yeah, and it is a choice. It is a choice.
Yeah. I've actually helped some people in the Melbourne area that have really been suffering from all the things coming up around the virus, and there's one lady that freaked out with just putting a mask on, and we found out that there's some stuff there about her paradigms coming up about being seen and not heard and stuff as a child, which actually comes in, and she's basically been shut up from talking and communicating. So sometimes it's the people get freaked out from things and they've got no understanding where it's come from, but they're all these deeply buried paradigms which I dig out. No idea what they are, I just dig them out and we process them, and people yawn and whatnot, feel tired and wake up the next day with a different level of consciousness, usually seeing the world differently, and also having a huge load taken off them.
And it is that awareness, and it's pretty exciting stuff when you think about it, isn't it? That you can actually help someone through that process. And I say we all wear masks, not physically, but we all wear masks of some description to hide something. So we've got a mask for home, we've got a mask for work, we've got a mask for walking, we've got a mask for whatever it may be. And to drop those masks, and that woman putting on that mask and feeling that overwhelm, I put it on and I don't feel the overwhelm. I just hate having it on because it's uncomfortable and unpleasant. But when someone has a realization that they're putting on this mask and it's taking something away from them, that, or bringing something to the fore that they haven't thought about for a long time, and they've contacted you and asked you about it to help them move through the process, and you've done that for them. It's all about awareness,
definitely.
Isn't it?
It is. I've done a lot of personal growth work over the last few years, and what I bring to the world is ability to look at a modality or something and pull the eyes out of it and make something work even better from it. So I'll look at all sorts of different styles of healing and geomancy and emotional stuff, and I pull the eyes out of it and I put together what works and chuck out the other stuff. So it's an ability to park the ego as best you can. We're all human, and actually make things better as you go.
Yeah, and we're going to have a few more conversations around this, Pete, aren't we? And our next session will be coming up in another month. I can't quite remember the date for that, but it will be in another month to talk about things. So if anyone has any questions that they want to ask Peter in our next session, please feel free to contact me. Send me a message via Facebook, and then I will ask those questions to Pete next time he's on, because I think this is a really important topic to learn about, to have an understanding about, and create an awareness of. If you're struggling in an area and you don't know why you're struggling, you can get some help. Now, the normal medical system is there for a reason. It's there to be used for lots of things, and we do need it. And then the alternative medical area is there also, and they complement each other. And I think that what we need to do is learn to work together, and when something doesn't work in one area, you bring someone else in to actually help you with whatever's not working, so that you can move through the process to get to the next level. And I think that's a really important part of everyone working together, all the medical professionals, anyone, it doesn't matter, because we're here as a community to work together and make things a better place for all. So thank you, Pete, for your time today.
Thanks, Faye.
You will be back
Pleasure.
next month. in March. I don't know the date, but we will have you back to talk about some other things that you actually do.
10th of March, I think.
10th of March.
10th
so
of March,
you'll be
I
back
think,
on.
right? Yeah.
Beautiful. So we'll see you back on the 10th of March with some more information to talk about. As I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments under here, or send me a message and I can ask Pete when he comes back on the 10th of March. Thanks, Peter, for your time and your valued information.
Thank you. Have an amazing day.
I will. And thank you.